Hi, everyone. When we say, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, we are calling upon the Father in heaven. Please indicate that I'm on. Sometimes this thing just goes private. Yes, okay. Now I know you can see me. When we say, Our Father in heaven, we call upon the Father who is in heaven. And we said, hallowed be thy name. Hi, Kulegan. Mohammed, how are you, my brother? How are you doing, Mohammed? Oguhle, hi. And we talk about the Father who's in heaven, who's above all fathers. And this is our Father who cares for us, who said, I am with you, I will never leave you nor forsake you. And this is the Father that has kept us through all the difficulties in life, through all the challenges we face. Whenever things get difficult, we go to the Father who's our Father who art in heaven. We call this Father so many different names. Mohammed, thank you for being here, because I was just about to talk about some in Islamic, it's Allah. And some Arabic community call him differently. In Zulu, we call him Umvelinqangi, Ubaba wethu. And in other languages, babiza ngoQamatha in Xhosa. nguQamatha utata wethu. Bongiwe xulu sawubona. Welcome. So I'm saying this so that we realize that there's a higher power in the fatherhood circle. Sometimes we get stuck in the natural fatherhood and we cannot elevate to a higher level of the fatherhood. And we are stuck in the emotions of the natural father, the physical and the mortal father. There is an immortal father who loves us no matter what, who cares for us, and who wants the best for us at all times, and who says, call on me, I will be there. Call on my name, I will be there for you. This is the Father who loves you, who blesses you, who gives you opportunities. So when you know there's an immortal Father, and there's a mortal father, and there's so many other fathers, and there are mothers who are fathers, life becomes even a better journey when you don't get stuck in the fatherhood that is natural. Because human nature is limited to its its value of human nature is limited in any way. I may be kind, but my kindness is limited by my human nature. I may be happy, but my happiness is limited by my human nature. I'll be happy right now and somebody just messes my day, it's over. But when your happiness and your kindness is linked to the immortal nature, the higher power, you don't lose it. Even when times are hard, this is something we need to learn, to be honest with you, because people will ask me, how did you survive? How did you survive all the things you went through? You gotta be above the natural to be able to look at the natural and go through the natural and make it through. So I'm not undermining the challenges we are facing, and I'm not saying the challenges we're facing and that are making us cry, I cry too, we are crying in vain. But what I'm saying is, when you cry, cry to our Father. When you joyful, be joyful to our Father. When every reward comes, call on our Father. So as well, when the challenges come, we call on our Father. Even when our fathers blesses us, the natural father, we still call on a higher father to thank the Father who art in heaven for protecting us and giving us the natural fathers who are taking care of us. Guys, I grew up. Today I have a guest. Let me start there. The guest is called Azanda. I just want to assure you that we may not be able to social distance, but we have made sure that we are safe and we are not wearing masks because we are certainly sure that none of us has COVID-19. So we are safe and don't be alarmed. Azanda is wonderful a lady from South Africa who resides in New York City, and we will be talking about our fathers. We will be going on a journey. I want to read some of the messages that you left on my page regarding the fathers. I know, guys, you know what I did? I said, my father, complete the sentence. And I was really so happy to see people commenting about their fathers. And it was just amazing to hear. To be honest with you, I was so touched by your positivity, by your total expression, for trusting me with your information. And I really appreciate that. Some people were talking about the pain. Some people were being happy. So it's good to know that there is a father who are doing well out there, and there are fathers definitely who are not obviously being there for their children. Unoxolo Kadlabazane said, my father abused my mom. I watched my mom being bitten by my father my whole childhood. I hate him until today. I wish Noxolo was here on the live. Noxolo, I know the feeling of hating your father. I know that feeling. It's not a nice feeling. It's a feeling that is heartbreaking. And when I say I hate my father, oh my goodness, it is a deep pain that is deep-seated. When you even say, I hate my father, this is the man you carry in your genes. He lives within you every day. I don't know if we get to that level of hate, is it not transferring to us as well, to a certain level, that when I hate my father, who's part of me, what happens to me? One day we may bring a psychologist who knows better, but I think sometimes the reason why we have this so much hate is because we don't know how to solve our problems. And sometimes the problems are not caused by us, they are caused by the system. Because you find that the system, if it's able to track these fathers and they are able to pay maintenance for their children, they're forced by the system to see their children. And when these kids go to the judges and present their case and the judges take really strong actions, I believe that a lot of problems could be solved in our community. We have these problems with fatherhood because the system is not doing favor on us. Before we start, I just want to introduce a guest to us, but I want to say someone who said, my father is, or Uthandeka Mazibuko, a nurse from Gauteng, says, my father was a very responsible man, treated my mom as his equal, made sure that she provided for her. He has never ever raised his hands on my mom. He was our hero. Good men do exist. So these are the messages that are mixed, where we hear Uthandeka Mazibuko and we hear Unoxolo Kadlabazane. And how do we get every child to speak like Uthandeka? And you hear my story. I posted when I said my father, I can't find my father's picture. I have a really deep story as to why I can't find my father's picture. It's a really, really deep story. It's not because my father's pictures are not there. My father's pictures are there, but my father is not in the picture. Only his hands are showing. Because my mom, when she broke up with my dad, she cut all my father's pictures. And he died without us seeing him and taking new pictures with him. So all my father's pictures, he has us. I can see his hands, but his head is not there. So we have different stories where sometimes our mothers, when they're angry with our fathers, they do some things and don't think about the children when they grow up, that they're going to need certain things that their fathers cannot, certain things that they don't realize during the time of emotions that are detrimental for generations to come. Cutting my father's pictures is okay because you were angry at the time. But now looking back, I don't have my father's pictures. If you can ask me, I will show you the picture of a head being cut and his hands. That's all I have. Someone say, Doctor, I still don't know who is my father, but the Father in heaven always carry me. I am Wanda Z. Gacheni. Thank you, I am Wanda. Someone say, Wendy. Wendy Ngumalo say, hi, Doctor. Hi. Guys, I'm going to call you out all. I recognize you. And I know, I understand that you have a problem e-airtime. Ngicela uhambe uthume iy'ngane ziyothenga i-airtime ngoba sizohlala la fanele siyikhulume lento. Musu ukuthatha i-airtime uyisebenzise kwezinye izinto ezingabalekile bese kuthi lezi zinto ezizokusiza ungabi nayo i-airtime. Ngicela uhambe uthume ingane ye-tech shop yothenga i-airtime ngoba ngiyakudinga nje please. Fanele kuhlale siyikhulume lolu daba. And through talking about these things, that's when we find solutions. Where Mohammed Salim, you know who I'm bringing right now? You remember Salim? Mohammed, you have to say something. You need to come on this live. Mohammed, we used to go and eat out in Harlem. Come, Azanda, let me introduce you before I say too much. This is Azanda. Hi. Azanda Mkwanazi. Please say hi.
Hello,
and
everyone.
Introduce yourself.
My name is Ugcinokuhle Mkhwanazi.
What's your name? Where you come from?
Okay, I'm originally from Durban, and I've been in New York for almost 10 years. Yeah, I'm a pre-med student.
Yes. And she's a hard worker.
Yes.
Yes.
And I have a great father. Our relationship started off rocky, but, you know, we reconnected, and he's one of my, I don't know if you're supposed to call your parent your best friend, but we honestly, you know, we have such a great relationship. I go to him for advice, you know, academically, you know, when it comes to my marriage and, you know, and friendships and so forth.
So, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Mpangeni, KwaMthetho.
Where?
KwaMthetho.
KwaMthetho.
Yeah.
Okay, and how many are you at home?
There's 7 of us, 4 what do you call it?
Siblings.
Yeah, 4 of my siblings are. No, 3 of my siblings are my half brothers. Like
okay.
I'm a step brothers.
Oh, steps.
And
yes.
then like about 4 bazalo manu bab, like Salomuntu.
Okay, so you have maternal sisters and
Yes.
step sisters.
Right.
Your blood sisters and your sisters. So 7 of you, all in all. So when you were young, what are the memories of you and your father? You said it was rocky. What do you mean?
So my parents were married for, I think, probably 7 years. My mother married very young. She was 16 when she met my dad. They got married when she was 17, and then she had my my first brother when she was 18 years old. I'm not sure exactly what happened because, she never told us why things ended between, while she filed for divorce. But we ended up moving with moving in with my grandmother in Bangin when I think I was probably like 3 or 4. Why are you zooming in? Okay, when I was 3 or 4, and I didn't speak to my father for probably about 7 years, so we really had no relationship, and we reconnected when I was 12 years old. And I don't know, like for me it felt like he never left because he had such a huge impact in I feel like who I am, my relationships with the opposite sex, and I don't know, like we really are, we really have a great relationship now, and I'm thankful for that. I know that not everybody or ongambona ubaba wakhe la ba reconnecta khona and then a relationship ibe right, but fortunately for me, so we're good, we're in a good place.
Okay, so right now your dad is alive. So what are the best things that your father have said to you and made you laugh?
No, I think we both jokesters. So he always says like angeyisi ngiqhuba intwala ngewisi. So whenever and I always tell him that we look alike. He's I always tell him that he's not handsome at all, and he's like.
He thinks he's handsome.
And, he knows he's not good looking, but he's like, but you look like me. And then he'll say, naye akazonanga woniwa inkunzi. Like, that's what he always says. It's like, oh, a man doesn't have to be good looking. What does a man have to be good looking for? As long as you have money, you're good. Like, that's the only thing you need. So while principally for years, so I think even when if sihamba nayo uthola ukuthi siseThekwini, like we're shopping around, we see a lot of his students, some of them are doctors, lawyers, who come up to him, bemthengela ukudla, and just giving him praises. Besitshela ukuthi he was such an incredible teacher or principal.
So your father was a school teacher?
Yeah, he was a school teacher and eventually became a principal.
Principal wesikolo Shayingane.
Yeah, Shayingane.
So were you in the same school as your father?
No, he actually refused. I asked him if we could go to the same school,
You remember the name of the school?
Noma Vimbel. And he said no because, he knew we were going to be in his office non-stop, embarrassing him in front of, the other kids.
I don't know if there's comments. Let's see what people have to say. Can you read, Umams?
Speak to those mothers who are fathers. Yes.
Umamsi Moloi. Mamsi is a great friend of ours.
Yeah.
And then who else? Nango Kulegan. Okay.
That's so deep. My father is a one.
When ufundela wena wedwa ufundela abantu.
I think you back comment.
Okay, guys, there's a difference between me and Azanda. It difference yami no Azanda. Yazikhanda lakho libekile. Yeah, it difference yami no Azanda ukuthi you said your mom and dad were married, right? My mom and dad were not married. So my mom and dad were lived together, not married. And then my mom, by age of, I think, 7, when I was 7, she got born again. So she became a born-again Christian and asked my dad to be out of his life until they married. So my father refused to get married.
Oh.
So she said, okay, if you don't want to continue with this relationship, then it's over. But he didn't want to marry my mom, and my dad was a womanizer. Once when I was going to school, we were going through the same school. There's a girl who looks so much like me.
Oh, I think you told me that story. Oh,
was that close to the
that's
camera,
so messed
please?
up. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and the worst thing is now we are the neighbors. Yabo abahlala lapha kanyuswa kaNgode stupid. Hayi kaNgode estopini saka stopi sasekhaya kambuba.
Angazi.
Oh my goodness. Estopini sakwaSibiya, to stop sakwaSibiya ekhaya. Manibheka lapha estopini saSibiya kunomuzi laphana intombazane ekuthu nokuthula. Sifana noNokuthula. Sizwana noNokuthula sabangani. We were good friends with Nokuthula. And only to turn out that Nokuthula is my blood sister.
Gosh.
Isn't that a drama?
That is like reality show drama.
It's like a true reality show. So we are in the same school, Nokuthula. We are good friends. We are both tall. We are both we are both tall. We are talkative. Siyadlala kumnandi esikoleni. And then meanwhile, my mom didn't know. And my mom comes back and tell me, Nokuthula is your sister. Guys, it's not one. It's maybe 7.
Wow.
Maybe 7 of these people that we kept on meeting and hearing that my father had lots of kids and he didn't take care of all of them, most of them. So my father was a taxi driver. You said your father was a?
He was a old principal.
So your father was educated and my father was not educated. So my father did not have a education, was not in an academic sector. My father was a taxi owner. Not a taxi driver. He was a taxi owner who was a business. That was a good business in those days.
Yeah.
So he ran the taxis from shit. And no, in some places, I'm gonna remember. Kwandengez. I think it was Kwandengez. Yeah, he had a taxi, taxis ezirana Kwandengez. So my dad, when he had so many other girlfriends, obviously, then he stayed with a divorcee.
Wow.
And took care of the divorcee's children and neglected his own children. And mind you, he's making money and we are poor.
Oh.
Me and him, see your face. Me and him, we would not see him and he would not come and see us. So me, apparently, because I looked like him and I was some kind of an outspoken person, so I demanded to see my father. So I used to cry and scream and say, I want to see my father. And then because we grew up with him when my mom was with him, so they were together. But now when we started going, he wasn't there. So I think it broke my heart. So I used to cry all the time. And I would demand to see my dad. And my mom was forced to go because I was crying a lot to look for him. And then she heard that he was the only way we could find him was going to the taxi rank to see him. And we wait. I remember sometimes we will wait the whole day and he will not come because he was a taxi owner, not a driver. We will wait all dressed up, waiting to see him.
Oh, that's so sad.
And he wouldn't even be there, and we'll go home without seeing him. So, but I remember him coming to school. And then when he came to school, my mom told me he's dating my principal.
I mean, can the man be any worse?
What are you saying?
No, I said, can he be any worse?
You know, it's just the worst case ever.
You know, that's, your story is unique.
I've heard of other stories too. We will share them. But yeah, so my dad, oh my goodness. So what happened was he then came to school, but he came with injuries all over his body. Because, you know, the taxi drivers used to fight, they shoot each other. So he had so many injuries. And that's the last time I saw him when he came to my school.
Wow.
He came when I was in primary school. Was Slindele? Any one of you who or from South Africa Ganyuswa knows the school ekuthiwa Slindele. So he came Slindele to see me. The principal called me and my sister. We went to see him. He had injuries all over his body. He just came out from the hospital and he said he wants to see his children, and he didn't bring anything. So I went home excited. I'm telling my mom, I'm saying, oh my goodness, I met my dad today. He came to school, because my mom didn't want to talk to him. So my mom had this hate for him, that she didn't want to speak to him. And also, I think because she was a Christian, she didn't want to be hanging out with the ex, because now I'm born again Christian. You see what I mean? So she wanted to live a clean life and not have, maybe she still liked him. She was scared that she will.
Part of being a Christian is forgiving.
Yes.
You know, someone that you know, a lot of Christians, that's where we go wrong. Like us forgive. You know, and for the sake of the kids, you know, it's no longer about you. So nengane. So I think you should always put your children first, like whatever is there, like best interest in gun. And they, you know, a lot of, especially I feel like it is so important for women to have a relationship with their father, because, you know, ufunda from your father ukuthi umuntu wesilisa fanele treat kanjani. You know, that's why unamantombazane ama-strippers enza, you know, like yonke lemsangano, because they never had lo baba, you know, to kind of lead them ebatshengisa ukuthi, you know, uphile kanjani, nokuthi umuntu wesilisa fanele treat kanjani. You know.
That's powerful. You see, this is very important. So the challenges that we were facing was, my mom was angry, and my mom was a Christian, so she could not allow my dad in the house. So he could not come and see us inside the house. So that's why he came to school. So when he died, I think I was 9 years old, and I heard my dad passed away. And then it was time for, I said, Ma, are we going to the funeral? My mom said, I don't know where the funeral was. I heard from the taxi rank that your dad passed away. Because kuno baba owatshela uma ukuthi ubaba useshonile, felt it was important for him to let my mom know. So now I'm like, okay, we're supposed to go see my father. So what do we do? My mom says, we're not going to go to the funeral. I was like, we are going to a funeral. He's my father. My mom said, I don't know where the funeral is. It's the past. I said, no, he's my dad. I want to go to the funeral. So my mom started making calls to try and figure out where my dad is. Where's the funeral going to be? She tried all she can. We couldn't locate where the funeral was going to be until he was buried. I wasn't there at the funeral. We didn't know where the funeral was. Then I asked my mom, where is his home? My mom didn't know where his home was. I said, how come you don't know where his home is? When you are someone's girlfriend and you have children, don't you go and introduce them to it's
Wow.
Don't you go and introduce your children to the family?
Yeah.
So my mom says he doesn't know where my dad is. Then I was like, okay, so what do we do then? So who tells us? We depended on friends to be able to tell us where and what time, when. So what happened was the funeral went over. We didn't know, we were not there. When I was older, then I did my 5th year in medicine. My mom used to say, I wish your dad was alive because I wanted him to see. So my mom wanted to spite my dad with us because he never took care of us. He was there and had money. My dad had money. I don't want to lie to you. We should not have grown up in that poverty. We should have not ate rotten breads every day because my mom was struggling alone. My dad was there, and my dad had the means to be able to take care of us, but he was not there. And I just think sometimes the poverty we see in our society is not because of anything, but because of lack of fatherhood in our community. I think our fathers are not responsible. And then it leads us to be growing up with stories of poverty. My story of poverty should not be existing, first of all, because my story of poverty is rooted from lack of my father being there, who had the money, who could have bought us bread, but he was busy womanizing, being with other women, and he being irresponsible.
But they say that it's usually the cycle. Like, how was his relationship with his own father? It's probably where that stems from. Because if he didn't have someone who exemplified what a father should be, how is he gonna know how to take care of his own kids? Similarly to your mom, like she, a lot of women who grow up with fathers, they'll choose the right man based on how, like, if your father is a good father, he treats your mother right, that's what you expect from any man that you meet. So had she had a great relationship with her own father, she could have done a better job with choosing like the father of her kids or her husband.
I don't know about my grandfather, but what I know is my grandmother had a husband. I don't remember. But your grandmother, Mazi, I know she had a husband, a boy. Yeah, so yeah, my grandfather had a husband, I think so.
But how was he treating his
and
wife?
I don't know how the relationship was. Maybe one day I'll ask my mom to tell me how was the relationship with grandfather. But there were no stories of my grandfather being abusive, because they would have come up. I think he was a responsible man. My mom's father, my mom had a father, but he died too. But I don't know when and how he died. That's a very good question. Maybe I'll have to go back and find out. So where was I? There's a story I want to tell about my dad. It goes on. Usmangele uti, I met my dad when I was 13 years old, and really there was no relationship. For some reason, he died 3 years ago. It was painful. I don't know why there was much pain in me. Okay, so you met him at 13. So how was the relationship at 13, Ismangel? If you want to come on live, please send a request.
There was no relationship, even though they met, they didn't have a relationship.
But saying there was no relationship is very superficial, because let me tell you why. You met him at 13. So what happened? You spoke. People summarize. So you need to go into details as to what happened. So you met him. That's a relationship. When the day you meet, you speak and you say something, then what happens? Maybe you met twice, 3 times, but maybe he didn't support you. Maybe we need more details. You know what I mean? Because sometimes these are just things, summaries that people say. But when you dig deep, you find out that maybe they met. Maybe he said something that destroyed the relationship. Maybe he didn't fulfill his promise. That's what broke the relationship. So to say there was no relationship, I could have said easily there was no relationship with my father. Yet there's such a deep-seated story behind it. So Usmangele, if you want to come on a live, or anybody wants to come on a live, we have 5 hours.
No, we don't. You have 5 hours.
Yeah, Ozanda has to go and study. So Uwendi Nxumalo says, Doctor, I was raised by a single mother. There's 3 of us, an older sister and us, the twins. Oh, you're a twin. That's special. I love twins. My mother, Z. My mother was my hero. I love my father, though. he wasn't too supportive, but ngikhona ngenxa yakhe. Helang, I'm from Kwanyuswa.
Kwanyuswa in the
Kwanyuswa in the house. Kwanyuswa people. Ubani wasempangeni. Sicela abantu basempangeni kamthetho abasho something.
Abantu basempangeni abanayo Wi-Fi.
Say that.
Bakhona nayo Wi-Fi empangeni. Good.
Qayedelela yazwa.
No, because ngiyakhona ifoni ayingasebenzi nokusebenza, but
ngicela basempangeni badla bamphoxe anithi hello abantu basempangeni. Okay, so Wendy Nxumalo says, Doctor, I was raised by a single mother. There's 3 of us, which is twin and my twins and an older sister. My mother is my hero. Uyamthanda ubaba wakhe kakhulu, but ubaba wakhe wayengekho too supportive. What does that mean? Wendy, when you say was not too supportive, you wanted too much. I'm just playing, but I don't know what you mean by was not too supportive. So it means he was supportive. Why don't we say the positive? He was supportive, but he did not do maybe everything that he was required to do. Like what? Maybe paying school fees, maybe buying groceries. I don't know. Sometimes we cannot describe things like the way they are, and I understand it's very difficult, but sometimes it's good to just be more elaborative so that we can understand what you mean by not too supportive. What do you think? What do you think?
No, I don't know. Mhlampe ama goals akhe ubaba wakhe wayengasupported, could I mean that's open to interpretation.
Yeah. So maybe, Wendy, if you can explain to us what you mean by not being too supportive. But again, now my story, do you want to continue with your dad's story? I want to ask you something. When your dad was eMlazi, you moved in nahlala ndaweni eMlazi.
Yeah.
So how was the school support, education, things like that?
Oh, okay. Yeah, when it comes to school, honestly, njoba ngishilo baba was principal, so that's one thing, like why consistent ngayo. Why evuka ngo 4 a.m. ekuseni evuse nathi, so we literally had to read from 4 a.m. until around or 6, like sekufane ukuthi sibe ready. So 2 hours nje, like the first 2 hours of the day wafane ukuthi sifunde. Whether you're going over a textbook as a scholar or just reading some book. But saslala early foot. We were in bed by latest 7:30 zonke insuku. So he definitely supported our education. Ubekhokhela isikole sihlala naye. But before that ngisahlala nogogo, uma was kwakuyena kuphela wayenza yonke into, and she was doing well. She was an actress. Ukwakhala nyonini uthe mashembe ngizalo mashembe. So I mean that's pretty much it.
So was your dad okay with your mom being an actress? Because let me ask this question. Back in the days in South Africa, most men didn't want, in Africa basically, a place of a woman was in the kitchen. So she had to take care of the children and be a housewife. And then actresses were not considered as good people back in the days. So did your dad support your mom when your mom was an actress?
Well, during that time, we were actually living with my grandmother. So, they were already divorced. So, my mother always wanted a career, and, she always wanted to, be an independent woman. And she felt like she wasn't afforded that opportunity when she was married. So once Washiu Baba, I don't know what his opinion was as a actress, because bengahlali naye, and it's something that he never mentioned, even says senhlala naye, even when we had, actually I'm going to ask him like what he thought about my mom acting. But then
don't you think it was a reason for divorce?
No, she started acting after sebe divorcile. And if honestly, like if you buka ama shows la amadala bengekho indaba ukuthi umuntu like fanele bekhise on screen or izinto enjalo. So So I don't think there was an issue. Like Owakalanyonin, have you seen like
Yeah, but
love scenes?
even the actual being an actress itself used to be an issue back in the days.
Yeah.
I don't know if someone remembers this, that actresses were not considered back in the days. I don't know. Umuntu obeka TV, kuthiwa awuko TV.
And she also
It wasn't something that we treasure today, being an actress as a female.
Right.
It was considered as being
promiscuous.
being like associated with some kind of promiscuity. It's like modeling. Modeling was not considered a career in our community. It was considered as a career that was promiscuous. It's like we are just using your body. It was degraded. It was not imagine now,
Admirable,
it was not a career that in Africa was really supported, especially for women. And now your mom was married.
No, she was divorced when
I'm just saying she was married before. We don't know what was the reason for divorce. Maybe you know why I'm saying, because I was a married woman and I wasn't allowed by my husband to go to school.
Right.
So I divorced him in order for me to go to school. So as a woman who's experienced the situation of an abusive man, I'm not saying your dad was abusive, but and the cultural family. I don't know if your dad was abusive. We don't know, because your mom is not there to tell what was the reason for divorce. But I'm talking from my experience that usually sometimes maybe people can go through divorce and then grow in their career, not because their career is the reason for divorce, but sometimes women are forced to divorce their husband to pursue their career. I'm one of them. I had to go through divorce in order for me to go through my career freely, because it was really challenging for me to say I want to do something and not be supported. So, but there were more reasons for me. It's not just that, but there were more. So my thinking, I wonder, in your family, what was the reason for divorce? And number two, I wonder if your dad did approve your mom acting.
Probably not. I don't think so. I don't
Knowing
think so.
your
Ngoba,
dad.
yeah, knowing my dad, like uma wagcina ku standard 9. Cabang, and then you marrying like umuntu one masters, but I don't think why is supporting Dabagama ukuthi sebenze. He just wanted her to be a stay-at-home mom, take care of the kids, and like most Zulu men, right? Like abafuna abantu aba independent. So
I didn't say that.
yeah, no, but it's true. Like you go to certain areas, it's like I don't know. Their thinking is so primitive. Like bafuna umuntu ohlale ekhaya upheke, take care of the kids. Abakuboni as equal. So yeah.
Yeah. So you did mention something that your dad had another child.
He did, but that was, they were already divorced at that point. So my father, this is like an interesting story. So one of his students, right, she graduated wa matric, and then they met, they reconnected when she was in college. She ended up getting pregnant, and that's the woman who ended up having three of his kids.
And he never married her.
He never married her. They lived together, and even when I was living with she was a wonderful woman. When I was living with him, she was there like 99% of the time, and my father will talk about my mom as if they still married, like how much he loved her.
So bad.
How wonderful she was.
Hold on a
this and
second.
that.
So your dad will speak to the girlfriend about your mom.
Well, he'll speak to me, but she could hear, the conversation. So, I ended up telling him that, I don't want you to put a strain on my relationship with now you're now woman, because you keep saying all these things about my mom, and my mom at that time had remarried. She actually did meet someone and got married again.
So, but your dad was still stuck on her.
Yeah, my dad was stuck on her. Like, I mean, even up to today, he's like in his late 70s. He talks about her like, as if, she's still here. She passed away a couple of years ago. Actually, don't know, over 20 years now. But yeah, when she passed away, like, he'll talk about this is the funny story. So she met someone else, got married, they divorced again.
She married again.
She married again.
He married again.
Ended up, things didn't work out with him. And before she passed away, about 2 years before she passed away, she and my dad worked things out.
With the second wife?
With my mother
they
and my
married
father.
They remarried again?
They ended up, when she passed away, she was married to my father again.
So they went back together.
And they went back together, and my stepmother was still like kind of in the picture, but I don't know, she was just kind of ignored. Like, can you imagine? Like, he really
Your
went.
Stepmother? What are you saying?
My stepmother was still in the picture, and my father said, my mom will always be his first wife. That's the woman he's gonna, like, go to court and sign the documents with. She can still, have her own space, but that's the first wife. If she, she ended up leaving him because he was just, honestly, I was like.
But sometimes our culture does allow that. It does allow a man. So your dad was married. He remarried your father, still with the girlfriend.
Yeah, the girlfriend.
So your mom also was okay with that.
Yes, she was okay with. She was okay with it. Okay. Well, you have to think, like, my mom, her father had like probably 64 wives.
Oh, so, maybe you should tell about that.
No, I don't want to tell about that. Yeah, so umkhulu wami had abantu bambiza ngoShembu Johannes Shemb. So he had a lot of wives, and
64.
About 64, yeah, in different like compounds in different cities.
And they were all married.
They were all married.
He married all 64.
He was like filthy rich.
Right.
Yeah, and it's one of in Nazareth Baptist Church, it's the second biggest church in South Africa after ZCC. If not the first, I'm not sure much. Yeah. But yeah, so Babe Nemali, and back then, like, this was in the 70s. Why Tata amakhosikazi, like, every ngomhlangano khona umhlangano ngoJanuary, khona umhlangano ngoMay, khona omunye umhlangano ngoDecember. So
3 wives a year.
Sometimes even more. So yeah, he had a lot of wives, and I have so many relatives, like, but since the Shembe name Lazio Guyongindaw, so whenever I meet someone on a Sibongo Saka Shembe, I know good.
That's my blood.
From the same lineage, like Sipuma. I guess Mundoyat, he probably had like 365 kids or something like that. I have so many aunts and uncles. Yeah.
You had how many?
Probably like 360 something children. Yeah.
Wow. So that's your great father?
That's my grandfather. That's my grandfather from my mother's side.
Not your great grand?
No.
Your grandfather?
No.
Also, your mom had grew up in a polygamous relationship, right. So it was okay for her.
Right.
Oh, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. It's not like us who'll be like, what?
Yeah.
Oh, so it makes sense. Sometimes it was the norm for her. So there was a family when you talk about that, your grandfather had 64 kids. There's a family, 64 wives and 360 something kids. Mm-hmm. Damn. But what I respect about that culture is he married those women.
Yeah.
I think I respect that. Instead of, imagine my dad had only a few and he didn't marry all of them. Nobody. Yeah. My dad never got married until he died. So I think that maybe I respect a man who tries his best, mm-hmm. even though the culture, maybe the religion, forces him to have how many wives, but he married them and it means they were in a family structure. But how do you see 64 kids? It's another
story.
topic altogether.
No, but ngale ngomhlangano like imhlangano lengitshela khona ukuthi yayingo January, December, so they'll all come together at Pagamin. He'll see all his children there. I mean, they were all pretty much all the same age.
And for him to make those kids,
yeah, he was a busy man.
He was a busy man. He must have been a very busy man. So maybe we'll finish my story another time, because my story with my dad goes on. But maybe
finish it.
I'm tired now, and I don't know if the viewers want me to finish, because people have left, most of them, because they may be tired as well. I will finish my father's story next year's Father's Day when we do another one. But
something to look forward to.
Yeah, so maybe I'll finish it in my book. Well, how's that? So then people can be able to read. Yeah. But I just want to read some of the messages that I hear. He said he was the best. Heaven is so blessed to have my father. And then Undlunkulu Bingcobo said denied that I was his child from birth. At the age of 21, having graduated with a BSc speech therapy degree from UCT, he called my family and said, "Oh, now I'm his." He threw a big party for my graduation at 21st. He died a month later. Wow. May his soul rest in peace. Wow.
Isn't it sad though when
Then I responded to her. I said, what did I say? I said, where do you begin? Magunjalo. I said that. And then she says, you accept that deep level of rejection. Work hard, forgive him, and move on.
Yes, because forgiveness is for you. Like it's not for Yan. Sometimes you have to release abantu enhlizweni.
It's true that forgiveness is a healing part for you. A lot of people feel like you see when I posted, I said I've never seen my father's picture. They think, oh my goodness, maybe I'm angry. Sometimes people need to understand that we have to share our stories, not because it comes from the position of anger, but it comes from the position of, this is my story. This is who I am. I'm not going to pretend just because now I'm a doctor to pretend as if, everything was fine. I had the mom and the dad who were married, who were educated. No. I did not have a father. I had a father, but he was not there. He was not present in my life, and there's a reason for that. They broke up with my dad. I forgot to put 10 on Instagram. But anyway, so now I just want to read another one. Ukwanda Ntaga says, where can I start? Where can I start? He was the most caring person, loving. He was the best. He was my role model. I miss him.
Oh, that's sweet.
What do you say to those who lost What do you say to those who lost their dads? Who lost their dads? What would be the word of support? Words of comfort to those who lost their father. What would you say to the people who lost their father?
That's a tough one. Like I lost my mother too, so I mean I don't know if there are any words anga kwenza ube ngcono, but hopefully you had a relationship no babu wakho before he passed on. Like what you said, it's such.
What would you say if I tell you my dad passed away?
Hello, like, I will comfort you.
The words of
comfort.
How would
like
you cope if you
like it's one of those things, like it's such a it's tough, like losing a parent, honestly. You know, because I remember when I lost my mother, I don't know, I couldn't process it. It took me a long time. I think even engqondweni like bengitshela ukuthi angazi for whatever reason, like I would wake up in the morning and think that she's still there. Maybe it was a coping mechanism, like abantu bacopa differently. And you know, I guess just letting your friend know that, you know, you're there for them, whatever they need, you know, you on their call away, or, you know, whatever the case may be. My
Okay.
condolences.
Yes. So let's read another comment. It says, hi on Instagram. We're also on Instagram, live on Instagram on my page, cancer_DR. Thank you for tuning in. I'm just going to say, Dr. Tycoon, hi. Ningiba Bez, hi. We talking stories from our father, lessons we've learned from our father. We're sorry we tuned in very late on Instagram, but we are here. So we're reading some of the comments and questions that people have been sending through. One says, my father was my best friend. He's dearly missed. This is Nokwanda Kuzwayo. And then Umunye Uti Sanele Mhlongo says, my father passed away when I was 5 years old. And then I responded, then he says, none whatsoever. Then I said, when he says he passed away when I was 5, I said, do you have memories of him? He said, none whatsoever. That is Sanele Mhlongo. And then Unonkosi Shero Olile Slindile Mabasokumalo says, I was always told me he loves me. My father always told me he loves me. Whenever we meet, he would hug me. Oh, how I miss that man. He passed on last year. Some days I think I will see him, and maybe we buried a wrong man.
That is so that's how I used to think about my mom. Like,
that's how tight my dad and I were.
Yes, that's how I like, honestly, that's exactly, I remember when my mother passed away, I even had, you know, I wouldn't call them nightmares, but I had dreams that, you know, she'll like wake up from the grave and, you know, I'll be, you know, sitting chatting with her, just like me and Tandera right now. But yeah, I don't know, I think the brain just kind of plays tricks on you. I think it's just the pain is so deep that, I don't know, maybe it's a way of coping, like just telling yourself that, oh, it's not real, you know, you know, she's still here.
Yeah, she says Unonkosi Cheryl Xolile, she just feel like she buried a wrong man. So I responded, I said, what a blessing to have such a dad. I'm so happy for you. Yes, a black man can. Really, a black man can. Can we speak about that sentence, that a black man can? Because there's a community notion that black men are not good fathers. And I want to say something to this. I showed you this morning. I was on my LinkedIn page this morning, and I saw a colleague of mine who's a cardiologist, a black man, complimenting another black man who's working for SABC, South African Broadcasting News. And he's just talking under general. And then this cardiologist, the black man, says, here's a good picture that I think describe how wonderful you as a father are. And this cardiologist sends a picture of a white guy hugging 3 of his kids. I'm sorry, I'm so careful as to how we portray ourselves as black people in the community. He's a black guy talking to another black guy, but then he shows a picture of a white guy to show that this is a good father. So your example of a good father relationship is a white man holding his white children. I couldn't stop. I said,
that's even offensive. I find it.
What would you say about that?
No,
he's a cardiologist.
I mean, that's incredible.
For goodness sake.
Out of all pictures, you can literally go to Google and you know, select a picture of a, you know, a great black father, why that particular picture. But I think that, like as you were saying, like a lot of black men, as they become more educated, like somehow by seba belong, like they kind of forget, where they came from, which is something we see even nala, like la utho ukuthi labantu asebe rich, like iba, they hang out with abantu abamhlophe. They don't want to be associated with abantu laba abakhule nabo. Like they will not even post a picture uthola ukuthi yababa wakho umuntu, angazi whether they are ashamed or what's the story behind that.
I called Azanda and I said, can you have a look at this doctor who's posting he's black, he's posting an image of a white family as the best picture, and telling his black friend that he looks like he's a good father like this family. And when I commented, I said something like, wow, what a very wonderful picture, a very wonderful family. And the only challenge is it's a white family that you are showing. And is this the message we want to send to our children? Because I'm sure this doctor has kids, or he knows some families who are watching and following him. Guys, sometimes the things we do, it's like this kid on Oprah's page right now, the young black kid, they're giving a toddler. She looks like she's 3 years old. She's holding a Starbucks cup.
Wow.
And then when I commented, I said, guys, there's no other thing that we could give this child, like a pen or a book. You want to really give a child a Starbucks cup, and you know that coffee is detrimental to the child's brain. Sometimes we send these pictures and we don't realize the negative impact that we are sending. We are black community, but we are advocating for other communities to show that other communities have better family. So we have a bad image. We're showing our own bad image. We ourselves are portraying our own bad image. So I just wanted to have that discussed today to say, you know what? We need to speak our own stories. This black guy could have showed a picture of him and his children rather than showing a picture of a white family. A black man can. This is what I'm trying to say. Yes, a black man can. A black man can try. And I want to speak to those fathers who are neglecting their kids and not paying maintenance and giving excuses that you cannot pay maintenance because the baby mama is giving you drama. Drama is drama. You deal with drama. Don't deal with drama by making your children suffer. I suffered having no dad because of baby mama drama. I think my family were baby mama drama queens. Because my mom literally cut the pictures of my dad. Only pictures I have is the pictures of me, of my dad's hands. That's drama. That's like too extra.
Yeah. But that's probably, she probably did it in, like sometimes in the spell of a moment, like Udinwe. Maybe she saw him with omunye umuntu wesifazane, whatever the case may be, and then you make a permanent decision udiniwe, like ingane zakhe ayisezobona isithombe zazo nobabwazo, just because like of poor decision,
emotions.
Yeah.
Okay, I will say this. My son was born from a relationship which was different, basically, because I was forced in arranged marriage. But when I then divorced, I had to make a decision because the divorce had allowed me to have my child, and I was allowed to change his last name. So when my son, I sat down, I was mad, I was angry, and I wanted to change the last name. And I was allowed by court to change my son's last name to my name, but then I sat down and I thought, okay, let me go ahead now and change my son's last name. What will be the impact in the long run when my son, because my last name is my mother's name, right? My mother's name is Mazibuko. So if my son takes this last name, what's going to happen to him in a long run? This was my thinking. So I had to consciously decide not to change my son's last name, keep it for him, because doing things for me was selfish. To say because I have an issue with the father of my child, then I'm going to remove the last name just because I'm mad at him. I don't want to hear. I want to be honest with you. It was hard to call this name every day in my house. It wasn't easy. But right now, I'm so happy because my son is not confused. He knows where he belongs. He knows who he is. I'm talking about emotional decisions that we take as parents. Sometimes we take selfish decisions based on how we feel. I had all the rights. I was forced in this marriage. I had all the reasons. Nobody would have blamed me if I changed my son. But then I sat down and I asked myself, if I change my son to my name, then I get married. Am I going to change him again to another name? Then I get married. And the reason my relationship broke down, my relationship with my fiance, was he was using his stepfather's last name because his mother decided when he had three husbands, he had 3 children from 3 fathers. So when it was time for her to decide which last name she's going to use, she changed all the 3 children to the men who married her at the end. So I meet this guy being Dr. So-and-so, and meanwhile, let's say your last name is Mkwanazi, right? Let's say I'm going to say he was Dr. Mazibuko. Say I met this guy, this is a real story. I met this guy, he's Dr. Mazibuko. For an example, I'm making an example. Yet his dad is Dr. Nike. Is Nike, right? So his mom didn't want to call him Nike because in this family that the man has met, finally the mother got someone to marry him, right? So she's excited, I'm getting married. She changes all the children, and even my fiance who's Dr. Mazibuko, I'm just making an example, he's not Mazibuko. Okay, I'm going to say he's Dr. Soka. So from Dr. Soka now he's called Dr. Soka. Meanwhile, his real name is Dr. Nike. So the mother doesn't want to call the children Soka, Nike, punch ball, whatever. Because now it's going to be Smarties in the family. Why do you want to hide the things that you've done using your children? Because you've already had 3 kids. You've already had 3 kids already. And it's okay to have 3 kids with 3 different fathers. That's your past. Now you want to lie and pretend like you are a good person and change these children and make them lose themselves and join the stepfather's name that is not even their name. And now this is what happens. I meet this guy. We live together. We're preparing to get married. And then I tell him, and his father comes back, wants to reunite with him. He couldn't reunite with his father. It was very difficult because of the mother's friction and his dad's friction issues. So he says, we're going to get married as Dr. Soka, but he's Dr. Nike. I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that because I made a decision myself with my child. Not to call my son with another man or my other surname. I called my son with his biological father. It didn't matter to me that there was a bad situation around my marriage, whether I was forced or not. At the end of the day, my son is here, and my son deserves to be called by his own biological father, no matter if his father is a drunk ass or whether he's a useless man, no matter whether he's uneducated. You cannot now confuse your child. So look what happens now. This mother causes the confusion for me now when I come to this family, because I think I'm meeting Dr. Soka, meanwhile I'm meeting Dr. Nike, and now I'm forced to get married to Dr. Soka when I know it's a lie. How do you agree on that? definitely my relationship was going to be based on a lie. I couldn't have that. I wasn't going to be able to sleep on that. So it's one of the reasons why I ended the relationship. It's not the main reason, but it's one of the reasons. I couldn't get married. I couldn't get married in a situation like that. So I don't know, maybe you have something to say on that point.
No, I don't. Like, I'm just listening to the story, and my older brother had a child with this woman in Durban, and they had issues. Eventually they broke up and really had no relationship, and she actually just changed my niece's last name to her husband's name, like Umbali. Yeah, so she just changed her, and she's been asking us to support her, financially. Of course, she asked for money, like, oh, Mbali needs this, or my niece needs this, or like whatever she needs, we always kind of cater to her and support her. But I was just kind of shocked that she ended up changing her name.
So she changes the name of the child just because they broke up.
Because they broke up, and she felt like they had no relationship. My brother had no relationship with her daughter. Like, he had these issues, but
right. So, but your brother is alive.
Yeah, he's alive and well.
So, did they call him and ask?
No, they didn't call it.
So how did you find out that the last name was changed?
Because she mentioned it to me. She actually told me, she said she wanted to wait until she was 18. And then I was like, okay, great. Then if that's the decision that she makes, when she's an adult, that's fine. But, she ended up doing it when, as soon as she turned 16.
So the girl decided?
Yes.
It's the girl, the daughter. It's not the mother.
No, the mother decided, not the daughter. The daughter
So what does the daughter say? Because she's above age to make a decision for herself.
She, because the guy that she married, she had been with her for 4 years. So actually, this is an interesting story. My niece was raised, most of her childhood by my sister. And then, she came into the picture and, start taking care of, just kind of came and picked her up one day and said, oh, okay, I'm going to take my daughter and raise her. And so she ended up dating this guy. And, one of my worries is that I feel like they haven't known each other long enough for her to make, it's not like a permanent decision, I guess, because she can always go back and change her last name. But I don't know, I just feel like, I think she was being spiteful because she was so angry with my brother. Like, she really thought, that was a guy, that was a soulmate, but my brother disappointed her. And, I guess this is one thing that she's trying to kind of like erase, like, whatever history they had. I'm like, yeah, child is already in the picture. Like, how do you...
we see that a lot, that most of the children don't have the parents, their fathers in their lives, because of us women. Sometimes we are the reason, because we tend to be angry with each other as a couple, and then we put the children in jeopardy, and then the kids are the one who has to suffer and receive the end of it. Because imagine now, if this young girl says, no, ma, I don't want it, then it becomes a big issue for her, and she lives with her mom, so she has to accept this last name. And then what happens when she get married? At least it's a girl, though. When she get married, it changes. If it was a boy, it becomes a huge challenge. Anyway, yeah, so with my story, basically was, I then became a doctor, right? And then went to do my internship at at Newcastle. No, at Potchefstroom. So when I go to this hospital, then somebody asked me and said, "You look like you look like so and so who works in the lab." It's okay, this view. You look like so and so who works in the lab, and I'm like, who? They say Waka Kuzwayo. I'm like, oh, my dad is Kuzwayo too. This is now, I'm doing my internship at the hospital. No, I was doing my final year. Actually, we're doing an OBGYN rotations. And then they say, oh, you look like so and so. They bring this guy. This guy comes to see me, and he looks exactly just like me. And then he tells me, oh, wakakhuzwayo. Ngithi, hi, my dad nami ukhuzwayo. Athi ukhuzwayo wakuphi? Ngithi wase-Potchefstroom. I even forgotten that Potchefstroom is where my dad comes from. And now I'm in the Potchefstroom area doing my internship. And then this guy then says, oh, who's your father? Then I tell him who's my father. I tell him the name. He says, that was my brother. And now he's trying to be nice to me. You know what I did? I asked for a transfer. I couldn't handle it. It was just too much. Like, now you want to care for me because sengim dala. But when I was young, we suffered so much and you were never there. And you were this close. And when you are young, you think, umlazo kude. You think Potchefstroom is far. You don't realize that these places are so close. So all along, so what I'm trying to say is sometimes the extended families has to play a role in making sure the children know their father. Because what are you saying as a grandmother? What are you saying as the aunt when the child is growing up without the father? I've seen some parents saying, we don't care about that person. The problem is when the person dies, it's an issue. The other thing I wanted to ask you, Azanda, is what do you say about the women who don't want to introduce their children to their fathers because the fathers are drinking, or the fathers are drug dealers, or the fathers are useless members of the community? They don't want the children to see their father. There's so many reasons why we don't have fathers next to us. It's not just because the child. Hi, Muelo is watching. Good, Dr. Muelo. Doctor, how you doing? And Louise, Dr. Banda from Zambia is watching. The oncologist from Zambia. Hi, Dr. Louise Banda. Thank you. Watching from Facebook. And Dr. Muelo. We'll keep in touch. I want to interview you guys. So what do you say to mothers who are making a challenge for us as the community just because the father is a useless person, so they say, or is poor or uneducated? They don't want this man in their children's life, causing a major havoc in the community.
Wow. That's a tough one. Honestly, I don't think I really have an answer for that. But I'll say that, you should do whatever is at the best interest of your child. Like if your child wants to meet their father, definitely, do that introduction. It doesn't have to be, a relationship where they see each other every week. It could be maybe once a year around Christmas. Just, as long as they know that they have, a father. Yeah, they don't have to be like a part of your child's life,
right?
Like daily life,
right?
And that's a tough question.
Yeah, it's very tough. We don't have answers for everything, obviously, but we are reading what the society is going through. Sbongile Zubane says, my father, and I don't know, I'm going to read it as she wrote it. My father sees me all the time. He can't even greet me.
Wow.
What do you say? You don't know what to say?
But maybe you should, like, I guess, go up to him and say hi. Like, and ask him, like, why are you acting like I don't exist? Like, why aren't you saying hi to me? Sometimes just making that first effort could open up a door to, a conversation.
I just want to apologize for the first reaction. Azanda is laughing because she was running away from answering the question. She's not laughing at the question. Yeah. I just want to make that clear. she didn't want to answer this question because she finds it difficult. That's why, because I was bringing the camera to her, that's why she was laughing. I just don't want you to feel like someone is laughing about your situation. I will never do that. I'm not that irresponsible, and I care too much about everyone I've met, everyone even who hates me. I care about them. So
It's
if you
definitely no laughing matter.
it's not a laughing matter at all. So we want to say to you, Sibongile Zubane, can you go to him? My question to her, I said, Haibo Sisi, into enjani leyo, this is the worst cruelty I've ever heard in my life. How are you coping, Godwa? Haibo, stand firm and God will provide. Thank you for sharing with us. She says, my father does not even greet me. And I saw a lot of people saying that. You want to say something?
No, but sometimes it's shame. It's like, you know, leo shame yokuthi umuntu nengane and you're not even acknowledging the child. I don't know, like sometimes I feel like my parents act more like children than adults, and I think in the case of Usbongile, I think she just has to walk up to him and ask the hard questions, maybe not right away, but embuza ukuthi yini ungizibelani. Honestly,
I think
I would do that. If I knew someone was my father, I would definitely, you know, approach him and start the conversation. Because sometimes it's just Leo first step enzima for umuntu. Yeah.
So the other question is, I'm thinking, is he living in the same area? Are they living together? Is this happening every day? Do they see each other every day?
Sounds like we see each other
Every
often.
day. And then this man is just not greeting you almost every day. So, okay, the other question that I want to go through is Asanda Ngeni. I like Asanda a lot. She's very supportive and she has 3 children. They're very beautiful. She's very, very light on my Facebook page. My father once punched my mother. I still remember that day. He used to abuse me. He used to abuse me and beat me, call me names all my childhood. I'm healing because I blocked my childhood memories, but God wanted me to be in Egypt in order to remember all my childhood memories. Even now, I have been taken back by the same house. I have been taken back to the same house. I was beaten up, called names. It's my healing process. Do you want to say something?
No, I agree with you, and sometimes you have to approach a situation head on. Like a lot of people, they run away or bazama ukukhohlwa ama childhood memories la uthola ukuthi mhlambe you were abused or whatever the case may be. And for me, like I actually had to go through a counseling, for some of the issues that I have. I think counseling is so important, even if kungena umuntu professional, but just having someone ozokhuluma naye, I feel like it's, you unloading layer weight, because a lot of us grow up in those environments where ukushaya ingane, and sometimes, even unkosikazi wakhe abantu they take it so lightly, but how, like awulaleli fanele ushaya, or abarealize ukuthi it's such a traumatic experience for abantu abaningi, and hopefully, unengane ezu-3, she's not doing the same to her kids, because how it feels ukuthi umuntu ekushaye, and it's like emotional abuse ume khuluma nawe, nomi kanjani.
I just want to be honest. We will talk about corporal punishment maybe the next day, but we grew up under being told that corporal punishment is good, but there's a beating that is punching on the face. A punch, that's a fist on a face of a child. That's not beating. That is not a discipline. That is abuse. So, and then he punches his mother too. Says my father once punched my mother. She even has a fist on her message. The one that I'm reading, there's a fist and there's tears. You see what I mean? We all have received a corporal punishment, but we don't put the fist when we talk about it. You understand? So I think this is more of an extreme beyond the cultural belief and beyond the cultural values of disciplining the child. This is more of an abuse, because she says she blocked that memory in childhood. I want to talk about that because I think for me, being in New York also did make me learn some of the things about the domestic violence, some of the things about child abuse. In New York City, there's no child on the street. You don't see a child without anyone supporting. Back at home, there are so many street kids who have no one to take care of them. So what I'm trying to say is it's the society sometimes and the policies that we draft for our countries that exposes the children into abuse. If you check, social services in New York City comes and take the kids from the mothers, even mothers who we think have not done anything much. Why are you being so dramatic? You know, but sometimes it protects those kids. Kids like Asanda would be the kids that the social services should have come and taken them away, right, from that situation. Or Asanda's mother should have been the mother that the domestic violence team unit should have come and taken her and him and her children out of that house to be protected for at least a certain period of time and be helped to be independent and have their own home. This is the system that some countries have. Once you report the abuse, they remove you from that man or that family. You decide whether you want to stay with them or you want to be away from them. And some countries don't have those services. You find that your husband is threatening you and beating you and your children, and no one is helping. No one is doing anything. I don't know what would be your take on comparison on countries' basis. Some countries' cultures is culture of abuse. If you look at how I grew up, and especially if you're poor, if you're poor, people think like it's normal to abuse you because you are poor. And this is my experience because I grew up being poor, and you could hear my stories. It's like abuse all the way. Just because I grew up with nothing. So I became nothing. And people didn't know that I was going to be a doctor one day. And now that I'm speaking as a doctor, they wish they could hide. Some church members wish they could deny that there was anything called forced marriage, because they never thought I would become anything in life. So they punch me as a punching bag. Because black kids who are poor in the rural communities with parents who can't read and write, like my mother, who cannot write a letter to the government and say, why is the professor calling this child, this girl, a monkey? So it goes on and on because my mom is not a politician, because my mom is not an educated person. So because my mom is disrespected in the community, I'm disrespected too. You see what I mean? It's like some of the challenges and the abuse we face is the levels and the tiers in the community that we are. And also the country's values that these fathers don't get arrested. Who are beating our mothers up, they are not being arrested. Who are abusing our mothers every day. Recently in South Africa, there was a pregnant woman, 8 months pregnant, who was found hanging on the tree. That was 2 weeks ago or last week. The young girl is pregnant, 8 months pregnant, killed and hanged on the tree. And you know, such things cannot be happening. You hanging someone on the tree. Is there anyone passing by seeing this? And what do you say? Do you call the police? And what do the police say? What do they do? You know, it's just those issues that sometimes we face challenges not because it's challenges, it's our challenges, but it's the country's challenges. When I came to New York, I felt the relief of the burden in my shoulders because the challenges of my country became my problems. And I didn't realize these were country's problems that were handed over to me. Now I had to manage them on my own without resources. So it is challenging. Before you go, can you just say one thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone. It
Can
was
you say
nice.
something on the issue of countries so that we have a smooth countries?
Government what?
Yeah, no, being the point we were on.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think, government has to support iy'ngane nabantu besifazane, especially, abantu situations where there's domestic violence or, child abuse. Unfortunately, in South Africa, even if, we rape victim, umuntu like bambopha for 2 days and then bamtetele. My sister actually had a similar issue where her husband was threatening to kill her. She just had a child with him because she wanted a divorce. Someone who's abusive was telling neighbors that, this is what he's going to do. He's going to chop her into pieces and, throw her somewhere where, she can never be found. But he was never arrested.
And she went to the precinct.
And she went to,
police station.
She had a
in
couple
Johannesburg.
in Pretoria. Yeah, she had a couple of affidavits. She reported, the issues that she was having, and nothing was done. He still continued, going to work, and just living his
threatening
life.
her.
Yeah, I think part of the issue, like actually the major issue, is the system, because they know they can get away with it. They feel like they can do whatever, or they're above the law. So I think, once they put those things in place, like where someone knows if you hit a woman or hit your wife or abuse your child, you're going to get arrested. I think we'll have less cases of abuse because bazosab.
Bazosaba ukuthi bazoboshwa.
Right.
But manje bayazi ukuthi ababoshwa. That is sad.
Ababosh, like they know that, that's why they. Yeah, so since bazi ukuthi ababoshwa, that's why they continue, like abusing women.
So the solution is to also have the judiciary system into this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I did actually realize that sometimes the judiciary system is disappointing us in a way, because some of the challenges that we're facing, where children are saying, I don't have my father left me, or when we say my father is beating my mom, it's because the judiciary system, like who Azanda was saying, his sister, her own blood sister in Pretoria, has been threatened because she wants to file a divorce. And because she wants to file a divorce, the husband is even saying he's going to chop her into pieces. And the police have not done anything about it. Do you understand how impactful that is and how dangerous that is for our society? And do you believe that all these women that we found dead and we don't know what happened and we act like we don't know what happened? The police have ignored these issues for a long time until really somebody is chopped into pieces. So we usually react when someone is really dead, and then we start making noise. This is why when this young girl but we'll talk about domestic violence some other time. Griselda Cassandra said, I can't even finish this sentence about my father. I never knew my father, nowhere to be found. I just don't know why, Griselda, your mom, what happened the day your dad disappeared. Oh, okay, first of all, my response was, this is when the system helps, because your father must be employed somewhere by someone, and then the system can help to track your father through the employment, the identity number. I need you to help me end the live because I have 2 phones, please. So she says, my father can't even finish the sentence because I knew my father was nowhere to be found. So my question is, the system could assist the children to find their fathers through employment, because this man is employed somewhere. Because he's employed somewhere, then he needs to be notified through the system that's able to notify him. And then Lihlohonolo Mohaneng says, someone I know, father is someone I know, and then meet on the street, grin and wave, then pass. No relationship whatsoever. Then Lihlohonolo responded and said, nah, Kishab, I'm a man now, and what I have to do is to make sure that I'm present in my son's life, even though it didn't work out between me and my son's mother. I have no resentment towards the guy. He denied me and dumping some baby clothes. Oh, I need to read more, but I can't press it because my hands are tied. Ulihlohonolo Mahoneng. Na lapayana on the response. Yeah, it says see more on the response. He responded. Okay, let's read Unozipho. Unozipho says, Nozipho Miss Man says, my dad is my angel. He is an active and loving presence in my life, always been there, and his children and grandchildren. He is gold standard. There are some amazing men out there, and what we want to say to you is thank you for the work that you're doing. It's not a bad picture altogether. Njoba Esho Unozipho Miss Man, that her dad is an amazing father. Her dad is a kind and caring man, and we appreciate that you are giving the both sides of the story, because there are really good men out there, men who are caring, men who are sacrificing everything, and there are good men who are trying, and we as women sometimes block them from being parents and good parents. But there are men who are really working hard every day, and they are trying to do their best. Let's help them as well, and making sure that when a man is trying, we are there for them. Because then at the end of the day, it's no use for you to say the man is not there for your children. Meanwhile, you are not giving him a leeway to be able to help your children just because you're angry or you're mad. Deal with the anger separately. Deal with your relationship issues separately from the child. Be able to separate the child and your issues. I know it's very difficult. I am in that situation where I know the father of he's very abusive. This man, very, very abusive man. The things even my son tells me that is happening, it's even until today. But at the end of the day, he's the father of my child. There's nothing I can do. All I can do is to report, ask my child to go and report and explain the things that are happening, and then get him away from the abusive situation. But I cannot take him away from his father. His father, he is an asshole that he is. There's nothing we can do about it. That's what he is. That's what he is. That's what he chooses to be. He chooses to be irresponsible. And what can we do? Right now, my son is staying with his father, and he has his own ups and downs. That's how life is. But at the end of the day, it's his father. If I remove his father from him, he will resent me too. So you never know how to do with kids, because you try to do the best for them, and then later on they regret. You try to get them together, and they say, why did you bring me to this person who's so horrible? Why am I called by this person? At the end of the day, he's your father. At the end of the day, my father is my father. And whether I have a relationship with him or not, it's still a relationship. Even having no relationship is a relationship, because he is my biological father. And I want to say Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there who are having wonderful lunch and dinner and breakfast and served on the table. We just want to say we salute you, black man can. We salute all the fathers, despite of your race, despite of your culture, despite of your background and how much you earn. We don't care. As long as you made that child, we are begging you to take care of that child. Don't wait for the system to be the one to tell you to go and take care of your children. It's your responsibility. And there are some who commented that they did a paternity test and a paternity test was positive, but the father still disagree. That's when I think the law should take its course. I have so many contents that we can read through and talk about. Maybe we'll talk about it some other time. But there is a time for law and there's a time for legal system. You cannot fight everything on your own. If your father is not there, you have a right, a full right. I went to school with one of my colleagues who was a mixed race, who in medical school took a case to court and sued his father for not being there all his life when he was growing up. He did it in medical school. He was from Cape Town and he won the case in court because his father was a doctor and the doctor who never cared for him. He decided, I'm taking him to court. And then she did. He took him to court and he won. So as a child, you have a right to go to court even at the age. He was 20 something. I think he was 20. I won't say his name because I don't have a right to talk about his life, but he's my friend on Facebook too. He worked in some other countries. I don't think he's in South Africa. I think he's in Australia now. But while we're in medical school, I was like, oh, I can't believe, my friend, you're taking your father to court. He says, I'm not playing. This man has money. And this man, so what I'm saying is to all of you, you can go to court and file a case against your father. And this happened in South Africa, not in New York. So you can go and claim everything your father didn't do if you can prove that he had the money and he didn't support you. So go ahead and open the cases against these fathers who are neglecting you. Instead of you living a painful life and grinning at your father, take him to court. And the court will have mediation process, even if you're not friends. But at the end of the day, he needs to pay back for all the pain that you went through, especially those who can afford. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. New York City is very hot, but we good. I think the lighting is just also affecting, it's causing so much heat. We thank you for joining. We thank you for tuning in. We thank you for taking everything. We cannot read all the comments right now. We are so thirsty and we're tired, but we would like to go on and on for the whole day. You know I would. But thank you so much for tuning in, and we will be talking to a medical doctor, a nurse on Tuesday. I'll be talking to a nurse who is a medical student right now, second year. She's amazing. She was a nurse by profession and she managed to get to medical school. We'll be talking to her and finding out how did she do it. And we're going to be speaking on Wednesday with an artist, an amazing artist, Khulekani. And I think Khulekani made a wonderful comment here that she's painting something on art and fatherhood. Please follow Khulekani Kandosi. He changed his page, so I don't know the new page, but his name is Khulekani Cele. He's a wonderful artist. He brought his art to New York, and I was helping him to break into New York before the COVID-19. But Khulekani, we appreciate you. We'll be talking to you. Please learn how to use Facebook so that we can be able to communicate. So you can send a request and we talk. But we tune in on Wednesday with Khulekani, and we're going to talk on Tuesday with the wonderful nurse who's now a medical student, second year medical student. You see, it's going quite well. She's in second year now. So thank you so much. I want to Azanda to just say last words and say goodbye. We love you very much. Thank you for tuning in. See you on Tuesday and Wednesday.
It has been a pleasure. Happy Father's Day, everybody. Happy Sunday.
I think it ended. Hey. Hey, we're still here.